Mr. Langa, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for this opportunity.
No problem.
I think we met about 3 years ago when you were looking for a place for accommodation for the holiday time. And ever since then you've been coming. I think you've stayed here a couple of years during the holidays. And so whenever I come up to campus now and then we meet, so it looks like you are progressing in your studies.
Yes,
Right.
I'm trying.
Now you're in third year, right? 40. Excellent, that's good, keep it up. So you started this new endeavor, am I right?
Yes,
And you started your podcast. What is it called?
Life by the Page.
Life by the Page. A little bit of explanation between that.
So basically interviewing entrepreneurs and so that they could actually pop up experiences and what, because we're short of knowledge in terms of inventories, logistics, all those things about creating certain companies in our generation right now, because the average Black South African is suffering immensely in those things because he doesn't have the mentors.
The means, the experience,
Correct.
or those people to guide them and show them the ropes, how to get about. I understand, and hopefully I can shed some light on that, and hopefully whatever experience or knowledge that I've gained throughout the years, I can transfer that to you guys in terms of just giving you some ideas how to go about it, how it works. But so coming back to it,
So can you please share about your background and
Sure, I
how you
will.
started your field study?
I will. So Mr. Lang, firstly I would like to thank you for this opportunity. I believe you've recently got into podcasting and getting your topics out there and what's happening with the students and what's the new and upcoming things. There's quite a few topics though, but first let me give you some background where I come from so you'll understand where I'm talking from and how I'm coming about and the experience that I've gained throughout the years. So my name is Diren Tottenham. I was born in Escott. Escott is a little town in KwaZulu-Natal, just at the foothills of the Drakensberg. I schooled at Drakensberg Secondary School. I matriculated there in 2002. Drakensberg and Escott is a little town, very close-knit, very, very tight, very quiet. It's a beautiful place, serene. There's not much crime there. Crime is very, very low. A beautiful place for kids to grow up and go to school. And you'll find in places where there's not a lot of crime, you'll find that the parents are a little bit more at ease and they allow their children to go out and play and enjoy. You'll find us play cricket on the road and stuff. And it is predominantly a town that you will hardly ever find in the country because it is a mix of all races. White, Indian, colored, black, we all live together there in one community there. It is not a segregated place where you got blacks living one side. They all are together, they all live together in one town. So I had the experience of growing up with a lot of friends that were from different races, different backgrounds and whatever. And I speak Zulu fluently, very, very fluent. So Mina Tina Poma Plus. Right? I come from and Escott is called Mchezi. Right? So when I started out in life, we started out very, very open-minded as such. Because we grew up in that community, we had a lot of friends that were multiracial. We got on very well, we played together, we studied together, we completed school together. And they were wonderful people, and I thank them for the companionship and the friendship and things like that. It's also made me who I am today. And as I said, I finished school in 2002. I matriculated. I then applied to the universities, and fortunately enough, I was taken in here at Westfield University for engineering. And so in 2003, I started my first year of engineering at Westfield, at UKZN Westfield. At that time, it was called Westfield College, Westfield University. Then Howard was called University of Natal. In 2004, there was a merger that took place, a big merger between all of the universities. And then Edgewood, Howard, and Westville merged into one, and now it's called University of KZN. Then DIT, University of, DIT, Durban Institute of Technology, and also TAM, and there was another small college on the side. I can't really get the name now, but they also combined to form DUT, Durban University of Technology. So I think these days you guys are still new, you don't know the history behind it. So I spent 2 years here at this campus here studying engineering, my first year, second year. When the merger took place, the engineering department moved to Howard College. I then moved over to Howard College. I did my third year. Then when it came to fourth year, I had some problems with mathematics. I didn't get through my mathematics the first time. That was Maths 3. I then had to repeat it in my fifth year. I had to do a fifth year and repeat my mathematics thing. So I completed my mathematics at that time. And then after my fifth year of college doing the mathematics, I graduated. I got my degree in mechanical engineering. From there, in 2000 so I started college in 2002, finished off in 2007. 2008, I graduated. At the end of 2008, I landed a job with a company called M4E Engineering down here in Durban at the Bria coast there. It was just basics. I was still learning the ropes and getting some experience and stuff, but it was an HVAC company. So HVAC is those chiller plants and things that you find on top of buildings that provide air conditioning to buildings and things like that. So I was still learning stuff there. Then the second year, I said, let me try put my feelers out, see if I can get something elsewhere. And I started to put my CVs out and things. And it so happened a company called me up from Johannesburg. I went up for the interview. The company is called Amp Air. Same thing in the field of HVAC. And they were doing all of these high-rise buildings. So basically all the buildings that you see in Sandton, those high-rise commercial buildings, the Michelangelo, Nelson Mandela Square, the Norton Rose buildings, all of those grand buildings that stand out here in Africa. I was part of that company that serviced and installed all of those air conditioning systems that go into those buildings. Now those are very, very complex systems. It's not like a simple one that you got at home where you got your remote here, you got the unit up there on the wall, you press it and the fan turns outside and then these are very complex. There's a chilled water system, there's chilled water piping, there's chiller plants at the top, there's ventilation, there's a whole lot of stuff, and it all works off a controlled system. So you just set it and it runs on its own. But there's many, many parts. There's fans, pumps, motors, big plants type of stuff. So I worked there for 2 years. I gained a lot of experience. I moved up. I worked myself up right up to area manager. I was one of 5 area managers. So they took Johannesburg, they took Gauteng, they split it into 5 regions. North, South, East, West, and they had Central. So I was the East, which was Sandton. So I was the area manager for Sandton area. So I had my guys, I had my teams of technicians, my breakdown technicians, whatnot, project crew and things like that. I should only handle all of the buildings in Sandton. So all of those big buildings that you see up there in Sandton, I've worked on all of those buildings. In terms of HVAC, so if you understand engineering quite well, HVAC is a big component. So if you go into buildings, there's not much ventilation in buildings, there's not much air that comes into these big high-rise buildings. You have to channel the air in, produce, and when these buildings are occupied, there's a lot of carbon monoxide because the building is occupied, a lot of people in these buildings, so when you breathe, you're taking oxygen, you take out carbon monoxide, right? These buildings now start to get congested with all of this carbon monoxide. So you have to manage it, you have to put in oxygen into the building, you have to take out the carbon monoxide. So you pressurize the building and you push the carbon monoxide out. So basically you work with high pressure, low pressure. When you put oxygen in, and things like that. So it's quite a complex system, but hopefully one day you get to understand what it is. Maybe when I've got some time, and maybe we'll take a walk to one of the buildings up here and I can show you what it is. Actually, the university does have. So when you walk around the university, you will see sometimes there, just outside the building there, there's a big tank up there with pipes coming in and out of it and things like that. But if you go up onto the roofs, those are the cooling towers down there on the ground. But if you go up onto the roofs of the university, of all those blocks, you'll find the chillers up there mounted on the roof. So people don't really notice it, but it's there. It's something you don't see, you don't think about. You think, oh, such a magnificent building, must be difficult to build this building. You're looking at the brickwork, but you don't see it. It's up there, it's on the roof, you'll see all these pipes running, coming down, it comes down via a riser shaft, goes into the building floors, from there it's distributed, and there's a whole control system that runs it. It's so complex that there's nobody employed at the university that runs it. They've got other external companies that come out every month that come and service this building. The same thing happens in Santon and things like that there. So that was my first job. I spent about 2 years there, worked myself up to area manager. I did quite well. Then I felt as though it was too much of work for me. Too much of work. Because Santon is a demanding area. It's very, the client base is very, very high in terms of the expectations. They've got a lot of demands and things. Now, you know, the rich guys, they want things done on time and whatever. And there's a company called Tiber Property Group, if you've ever heard of it. Tiber Property Group. So Tiber Property Group owns 90% of all the buildings in Santon. You see all those beautiful buildings there, all those nice high-rise, all those nice shapes and architectural design and stuff. They own 90% of it. So we were contracted to them and we should do all of the HVAC work for them. But then it reached a point where I felt it was too much of work, and I said, let me put my CVs out, and I started to apply for other jobs. And then I got a job at SAB, South African Breweries. So I spent 2 years M4E, I crossed over to South African Breweries. It was a wonderful place. They started me off at head office, which was in Santon. And I started off as a junior engineer under the maintenance engineer. So I was a junior engineer working under the maintenance engineer. So the maintenance engineer runs all of the plants in South Africa in terms of maintenance. So he puts out the maintenance schedules in terms of, this is our plant, this is the equipment we have, this is what we need to maintain on the equipment, put together service schedules, appoint companies or people or skilled labor or technicians or whatever, have your whole plant set out and carry out your maintenance on these plants. So in South Africa there are 2 breweries, only two. There's Shamrock Brewery and there's Alroad Brewery. Shamrock Brewery is in Krugersdorp. Alroad Brewery is in Alroad, which is in near Benoni somewhere. Right? So Alroad Brewery is the biggest brewery in the southern hemisphere. When you look at the Earth, southern hemisphere, Alroad Brewery is the biggest brewery in the southern hemisphere. So I started out at the head office. I worked there for like about 4 months. I was training under the maintenance engineer, and I was doing quite well. I was enjoying my job. I was sitting at a table and a chair. I was busy on the computer, not running around the whole day, you know, with all these high-rise buildings, climbing the stairs and whatnot. So I was nice and relaxed. 4 months down the line, he walks into my office and says, Dire, listen, we got an issue. Shamrock Brewery, the facility manager has passed on. Can you fill in for him there until we get somebody to replace him? I said, no problem. But it's a lot of weight on my shoulders. First time I'm going to, I'm still in training, you know what I mean? Learning about how this whole brewery works, what's the systems and things. So no knowledge at all, just a few basics from the maintenance schedules that I was basically getting myself up to speed with. And I was thrust into that. So I took up the position there as facility manager. So at the plant, you've got 3 managers. You've got production manager, You got plant manager and you got facility manager. Production manager worries about the production of the core business, which is producing beer. Plant manager worries about his plant equipment, all those machines that need to produce those needs to produce that product. Facility manager worries about the entire facility that has to support all of these machines, all of the staff, basically the entire building. You look after it from a maintenance perspective. Every machine that's in there, the building itself, the electrical, the plumbing, the HVAC, the fire, there's all these components that go into it. So I had to look after that. So anyway, I took it on. I got used to it. I spent a couple of months researching things and working with the guys at the plant. There were a few guys at the plant that were helpful, and then you had some people who were not helpful. And Krugersdorp is a bull town, solid bull town. When I got in there, it was 2009. At that time, the workforce of most of most industry was white. Most managers, directors, supervisors, and things like that were all white. So going in there as an Indian, as a plant manager, was very difficult because they didn't take to it very easily. What's this Indian guy doing here? You know what I mean? Because it was 90% white, and you got these old grumpy bull guys who talk to you like basically like you're nothing, as though you're just a simple labor. Yet you are higher than them. You know what I mean? They got no qualification. They're just sitting there because the color of the skin. You know what I'm saying? And there were just a few black workers, and they did have black staff. However, the black staff only did the hard labor work. Cleaning the floors, unpacking the crates, and stuff like that there. But the transition was taking place. Things were starting to change. And these old white grumpy bull racist guys didn't like that. And the one thing that they will do, or those that are racist will do, is they will never transfer the knowledge or the experience to you. They will let you battle, suffer, and fall to your knees, but they will never help you. That is the trump card that white racist people use when you enter the employment industry. They will never mentor you. They will never give you that guidance. They will never take you under the arm or hold your hand and say, come, I will show you how this thing goes, how you work through this, how things. I was on my knees, but I had to learn every day. I should come to work at 6 in the morning. I should only leave the plant at 12, 1 every day in the morning. I should drive home, just eat, jump in my bed and sleep. Lucky, I had a girlfriend at the time, but she wasn't living with me. I was living alone in my flat. So I had the time, but I mastered it. I made sure I mastered it. There was a black girl that came in, and they made her, I still remember her name right until her name was Apila. Apila. The first black female to come into the plant at a line manager level. And they didn't like the idea. They didn't like the idea because now she will give them her expectations of what she needs done and if these guys don't get it ready in time, she's gonna make a noise. And if she makes a noise, these bull guys are not gonna listen to a small, puny little black girl. You know what I mean? Yet she holds a high position to them. And she and I became very good friends. But I had an ace up my sleeve. There was another Indian lady. Her name was S.A. Vani. And she was very, very open. It's not like she took to me because I was Indian. She was very fair. She wouldn't get involved with people and get into or take sides or things. And she was the plant, should I say, lab. She was in the plant lab, right? and she generated bacteria and things like that there. And so she did all of the lab work and stuff, and she told me today, anything that happens here, whatever they tell you, put it in here, take it out here, focus on your job. Don't worry about what people say, all the noise that they make. That's what they do. When these whites are in industry, and we as Indians or as blacks come into the industry, they will never guide you, they will never help you, they'll never give you experience. I'm not saying it's all of them. I'm not saying it's all of them. But at that time when I was getting in, 90% of the companies were predominantly white. And they refused to help me, or to show me the way, or to show me that this is how you do things. But I had to learn from the ground up. But I did it. And she told me, block out all of the noise, concentrate, don't let these people get to you. And build up from me. And I started, imagine, I was only 27 years old in a massive plant, nobody to help me guide me, but I'm the FM there. And from head office, the day that I left head office, the CEO of SAP South Africa gave me a little going away party. They've got a little bar in there, and to like with a couple of the beers that the company sells and things. So they called me to the bar that afternoon, and the CEO told me, doesn't matter whatever you do, remember it's what you do for yourself. And he knew I will have a very hard time with those white guys in the plant. So I said, okay, right, fine, let me go. The first few months I struggled, I battled, I was frustrated, but by the ninth or 10th month I mastered it. I would spend every day, every minute of my day, making sure that I learn this process, teach myself what to do, how does this maintenance, how to, put everything together. It's like a puzzle piece. By the 10th month I mastered the plant. I did so well. The maintenance manager comes to the office again, comes to my office now at SAP. I'm busy inside the plant, and then he sends a message out, can you get to that thing? I walk in there, like, hey, what's up? What's going on? So he says, no, I need to report it. So I was like, what's going on? He says, listen, I'm going to give you a proposal, and you tell me if you're happy or not. So he says, we want to move you from this brewery, Chamber Brewery, to Elroy Brewery. Elroy Brewery is the biggest brewery in the southern hemisphere. You know the line so basically, you know that the biggest brand of beer in South Africa is called Black Label. Alright? Courts. The line for Black Label, that production line, is 1 kilometer long. So that tells you how big this plant is. And there's 12 lines at that plant. 12 lines. They produce all the mainline core stuff. So your Lion Lager, your Black Label.
So this time you're working as a...
Yeah. Now, so anyway, when he came to me, he told me, listen, I want to move you to Elroy Brewery. I knew that Elroy Brewery is the biggest brewery in the southern hemisphere. It's a massive plant. It's huge. If you have to walk from one end to the other, it will take you an hour. Just to walk. And then I said to myself, I'm comfortable here. I have everything here. I've worked hard. I've mastered it. I now know what's happening here. And I said, look, maybe I should go because of the racism that I was experiencing at the plant though. That was the only reason. And these white guys run the plant as though it's their kingdom. And the white racist ladies up there, they like little princesses inside the plant. The white guys treat them like princesses. And when they talk to you, they just talk to you anyhow. The demeanor that they use, the tone that they use, the way they look at you, it's as though, and I said to myself, Rix, let me try this. And I moved over to Alfred. So anyway, I took the position. I didn't ask for salary increase, nothing. And when I went over to Alfred, things were a lot better. They had a much more even staff complement in terms of, we were well balanced in terms of race, let's just put it as ethnicity, right? As in terms of that. So there were quite a few blacks, there were quite a few Indians, there were a lot of whites, a lot of coloreds, and it was a more open-minded plant. It wasn't run like a kingdom like what I was experiencing there. And it's just that it was a lot of work because it's a massive plant. And I went, spent about 2 years there, and all in all it was like about 4 years or so, no, about 3 years, 9 months or so that I spent at SAP. And the first, so I'm going to take you back to the first round, back to the third year or the fourth year, going backwards. Remember when I told you I left M4E, when I left MA to move to SAP, I was putting my CVs out. And I put my CVs out to many companies. And one of the companies that I put my CV out was to MTN South Africa. Then, 4 years later, I was now working for SAP for 3 years, 9 months. After 3 years, maybe after like 4 years, I got a call from MTN. MTN says, "Good day, Dylan. We picked up your CV on our database. We'd like to call you for interview and things." So I was like, "Where did you get my information for? I never applied for this position." They said, "No, you applied," and then they told me the date and time and everything. I said, "Oh yeah, that was way back then. How come it's 4 years later now?" She says, "Yeah, no, what we do is when you send us your CV, we put it into a database and we keep it there. And if something comes up, we look for the best match and we try to check. If we don't find anything in our database, we then put it out like how you see jobs advertised." And I said, "Wow, that's good," and whatever. So anyway, we set up an interview and things, and I was taken over to MTN. But before I could start anything, they took me off a tour of the head office itself and things like that. They showed me what it's like, what I'll be doing and whatever. And MTN was the number one company in South Africa at the time. It was the number one listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, number one in terms of top companies in South Africa. So I said, "You know what, it's a no-brainer. I'm moving to MTN." I moved over to MTN and I was pushed into the implementation engineer position. So when I was put into the implementation engineer position, it was more data centers. And that time, nobody knew anything about data centers. Computers and cloud technology and things were all brand new. Nobody in South Africa knew about it. Nobody knew about 5G and 4G and 3G. But I was the person that rolled out 4G in the country. Do you know that? Yeah, so basically, let me take you now to MTN. And this one's important. This is where it really thrust me into the person that I am now. And when I got into MTN, things moved so fast. I was taken through so many courses, through so much of training and workshops and things like that. One after the other. That company is so diverse. That was the first company that I got into. There's no racism in this company. There is no favoritism in this company. Everybody gets on well. Everybody takes care of each other. It's a community. And that headquarters is employs about 2,500 people. So basically, it's the biggest building in South Africa that employs people. So from the CEO, you had 2 directors, then you come down, then you got 5 HODs, and then below them you got senior managers. I was under the senior manager. So I am now 6 positions below the CEO. And there's 2,500 people below me. But basically there were a couple of us that were on that tier. But I was lucky enough to have good managers, good directors, good HODs, but not only for me, they do this for everyone. This company thrusts you into a different world. They pump you up with training, they give you the experience, everything that you need. So when you go out into the field, you are well versed, well experienced, and even though you haven't done it, but you've already got knowledge on how to do it. You know what I mean? So now these things about data centers, nobody knew about data centers, cloud computing and whatever, but this was a new technology in the country. It was taking off quick, and we had to get up to speed with it. And internet and 4G, 5G, 3G, and then cloud computing, and then basically this whole thing about now what's in now is hosting. So, but hosting is in now, but we were building those data centers back then to get them ready for now what they are selling now. You know what I mean? So basically, all your company stuff. So we see all the stuff that you're doing here. When you go and upload it and put it, it all goes onto those servers. That is called hosting. All goes onto that server. That server now, if somebody wants to look at your podcast, they will now go into YouTube. But you're wondering, where is it? I uploaded my stuff. Where did it go to? Do you know where it went to? Where? How? You don't know, right? Yes, this is how it is. They are massive buildings with racks in them. In those racks they have servers. They have a blade servers and things like that. These are all storage and management devices that give you all of your YouTube, Wi-Fi, your YouTube, Facebook, and things like that. So I was building all of those buildings, all of those cabinets, giving them power. Now, basically, MTN does not rely on ESCOM power at all. They produce their own power. So when they had, so many years ago, they had this, what's it called? They had this convention in Geneva in 2007, and there was this big drive towards green energy. Many years back. Now you hear these companies that want to be green and their footprint and have a green footprint and things. But MTN caught on to this back then. They knew that we need to start keeping up with the world and the technology in the world. So they wanted to be green. So what they did, they said, right, fine, we will use natural gas. How will we get our natural gas? We'll take all the waste. So you see all the waste from your bins, all the waste from the farms, basically all of the sewage waste and things like that. They take it, they put it in there's massive digesters. They put it in there via anaerobic or aerobic digestion. So when things rot, like when you eat food, your food digests, and then you pass a little bit of gas, that is now green gas. Basically, it's naturally produced. That is now methane gas. So when you pass a bit of air, that is methane gas. It is green gas. It's naturally produced. So they take all of the waste, put them into digesters. Maybe if it's compostable waste, they will compost it, take that, give it to the farmers. The farmers put that back into the fields as compost. The gas that comes out of it goes through a scrubber, comes out. Same thing that they would put into a generator, a gas generator, and generate power. So, do you know the house phone? House phone, the one with the line? Landline. When you talk, is your landline plugged into a plug point at home? Where's it getting power from to phone? Isn't the phone being screen, ring, ring, ring? Where's it getting the power from? Did you ever see the phone plugged into a plug point at home? No. But there's power there. There's power there. The entire system works with power. So basically, what they did, they took that there, they put it, so basically all the waste products that you see around, they take it, they put it into massive pits. Those pits, they cover them. Some of them, it depends what type of material they're throwing, bacteria or non-bacteria, whatever process take. Well, basically it's a digestion process type of thing. Comes through the gas. Goes through the scrubbers, comes through the pipe, goes into the gas generator. Gas generator spins, produces power. They don't rely on this stuff. They're totally off the grid. The entire process is green. So they clean up the environment by taking all of the waste products, right? Put it into digesters. Via anaerobic or aerobic digestion, they produce methane gas, which is green gas. So all the waste products are gone. You're not polluting the environment, right? So that was new for me, and I was happy to do stuff. That was brand new technology in the country. Nobody knew that. I'd never seen it before. Nobody did it in Africa. MTN was the first to do it. So when there was load shedding, MTN had no problem. No problem. The network was up all the time. So all the banks, all of your government building, your government departments and things like that, they all were fine. Because when you open your website, ATM and things like that, for example, if you go on to SASA, for example, there's no power, but if you switch on your computer, type in SASA, you get into the website, the internet runs, there's no power. Because there's always power running in there. The other companies, Celsi and Vodacom, caught on to that, and they slowly started. But MTN was the first one to do it. I was also part of that. So from there, I spent a couple of years. I built data centers. It's quite a complex process, but I learned how to do that. Gained experience. I spent about 3.5 years there. Then I was starting to get bored because now I reached a position where I'm only managing emails the whole day, and I'm sitting in meetings the whole day. I'm not doing any physical work. I'm not getting out much. I'm only doing top level things now. Now because the only time I go to site or to the data center is to do an inspection and give off a COC, certificate of compliance, because I'm the engineer. So when now vendors come or companies come to do any work, I go to sign off that work when it's done. So I started to get bored, and then I said, you know what, I'm not going to stick around here too much. I was looking to get into something, but you need capital to get into things, and this is where I'm going to come to entrepreneurship. And then around 2017, I left and I came back to Durban. 2018, I got a call from my relative who told me, listen, your mom has been keeping students for almost 20 years now. And she was the first person to keep students here in Reservoir Hills, more especially black students. My mother was the first person to keep black students in Reservoir Hills. In 2003, she had students from Botswana. When they were busy building the university in Gaborone in Botswana, the Botswana government sent the students to South Africa to study at the various universities here and subsidize them. So when they came, they had nowhere to go, nowhere to stay. And my mom went to the university, put her details that if you need people that are looking for space, I have space. And the first 15 students from Botswana came. They stayed here for 7 years. Well, there were a few that went and came and things, but 7 years, she had 15 students. And then on and off she kept them. But when NASFA started this whole program, a relative of mine called me and says, look, there's an opportunity. Why don't you take this opportunity and why don't you come and develop your mom's place? She has plenty of land here. She needs a bit of money. Invest in something here and try and pick it up. And that's how I came here. And I've been here now for 4 years now. And we're still developing. I'm still keeping my students going. I manage everything from my side. And my students are quite happy. Every year I have students who are very happy. We get on well, we have a good relationship. I treat them well, they treat me well, we respect each other. And by the end, when they leave at the end of the year, they really thank me. I say, I really appreciate you. You really took care of us. And I also appreciate them. But the problem we find is that now, the topic that I brought up with you earlier, when students graduate, there is no transition from graduation to employment. And over the past few years, I've seen students protesting and things like that, the SRCs and whatever not, and there's a whole thing that every year there's these protests and stuff, and that's for the SRC looking for student funding and things like that, and whatever not. And they've come far, they've achieved this NASFAST program where they get funding, every student has an opportunity and things like that. But now, they go through their studies, they come to the end, they graduate, but there is no transition process to employment. And before we started this this podcast, I wanted to get my facts right. And I went onto the website and I started to Google and check for South African stats. And I'm not sure whether these stats are correct or not because it's not an official website. But the ratio of a graduate to employment is 123 students applying for one job, or graduates applying for one job. Come through. So basically that ratio is very skewed. And students have fought and fought and fought to come to this point, and they've done very well. I mean, student unions, SRCs, students themselves, they fought the government, they made sure that the government put a program in place, which is the NSFAS program, to assist students to get a tertiary education and get a degree and get a better opportunity to have a better life. But the students still need to fight one more step. And this is my message to all students. When our students graduate and they go back home, they don't have that fellowship, they don't have that company of fellow students or graduates around them. But when students come to campus, they have, like when you come to campus, there are many students, you can get together, you'll put your ideas together and you'll fight and you'll get things done. But once you graduate, if students move off, they go back home, there's not other students there with them, they're alone, they're not in those social circles and things like that. And then they find it hard to find employment. And as I told you, that stats of 1 to 123 students. It's a very, very skewed ratio. Students need to now fight the second part of it, which is to get government to get them a mediation process going in terms of transition from graduate to employment. Once a student graduates, government has nothing. There's no NSFAS, there's no union, there's no program in place, there's nothing to transfer them into the working world. And even when they go into the working world, there's not enough employment for them. So I say to students and I say to SRCs, you have fought the first half, battle is not over. You need to fight the second half. And that is now when a student graduates, they need to find employment. There's many students, there's thousands of students that have graduated and are sitting at home unemployed. Ask me, I know. For the past 3 years, we had PGCE students living here. 150 students, only 25 have got jobs. That's in teachers' post. That's in the teaching profession. It's very, very skewed. Very, very skewed. So that proportionality needs to change. And students need to fight this and push government. Like government said, we didn't have any plan for you all for tertiary education. You either have the money to pay for it or you don't get it. But students fought and they got it. They now have mass facilities. Every child has an opportunity. But the second half of it has to come in. Student unions, and it's not only students. There's 3 entities here. It's the companies who employ, it's the government who needs to facilitate this process, and it's the graduates who need to push for this. It's 3 entities that need to come together to make this work. Because there's many students back here. But Mr. Langa, I think I'm gonna come to the end there, but I would like to leave you with that. Please take that to your fellow students and drive that conversation, and hopefully things will go. Thank you. Enjoy. Thank you very much.